Hi, good evening. My name is Trakayla Brakefield. I am here to discuss the existence of gender wage gaps, specifically with men and women of 2023. Historically, just discussing the meaning of the gender wage gap, the existence of it, root causes, as well as existing policies, laws, ongoing issues that can persist with the emergence of the gender wage gap to be closed, and also just a narrative to understand the reasoning and purpose on a social standing point of practicing policies and procedures to execute proper practices. So first, I do want to just discuss the historical background of the gender wage gap differences. So just defining what that is first is just basically gender wage gap calculates a percentage of women's earnings against men's earnings. So for example, what women make 20% of their earnings on average is what 80% of a man can earn. And again, some of these factors are conclusive based upon on historical contexts. These contexts are occupational segregation, so the rights of women to actually work, that's still fairly implemented policy as of the 20th century, and also career choices that are explained, different educational backgrounds, and lack of work balances, procedures and policies, and unconscious biases against when women and men are working together in certain environments. So again, the occupational segregation portion is just basically the male dominance versus the female dominance. Culturally, men are the hard labor workers. So of course they may be in possible construction, maintenance, anything like heavy lifting, laboring, as far as women classified to be nurturers, so caregivers, nurses, doctors, aides, teachers. There are the educational and informative, as well as health specters of the employment field. And that also creates a gender gap by not sustaining sufficient prophecies between what the male wants and what the female wants, as these roles can be interchangeable. Also, again, the educational choices are impacted by the gender biases. So, for example, you can have women who are strictly skilled to work in nursing. They have their bachelor's degree in nursing with a registered nurse certificate or certification in their state. Meanwhile, there could be men who pursue engineering or technology-based fields as well. Discrimination biases does exist as well too, so these can be impacted on promotion, payment decisions. And again, it goes back to women being paid less more than men, so that also is included with the pay decisions, raises, promotions, and it can also impact based on what they feel like is desirable for the organization based on those hiring policies. Motherhood penalty does exist too, because women do have to carry children. And say, for instance, if a mother is pregnant, there can be career interruptions, reduced work hours, lower earning potentials, and those women are subjective to possibly may not have a job in the future. Inclusivity would be one of the ways that can promote gender wage gap. So this can include not only just women to be targeted, but also women of color or other racial identities, or also racial associations or cultural associations. the disabled of women, the LGBT plus of women, and also those marginalized groups that are not classified, where they can be either interchangeable cultures, combined cultures, and there may be those disparities in pays with those type of women that exist in the workplace. The economical impact are lower household incomes. So families are subjected to working environments where they feel as though they will have to be in a low paid wage or impoverished environment. And also it slows down the economical, economical growth of those individuals, of women who are wanting demand to at least be an equative factor with men. Secondly, with the improvement of gender wage policy solutions or potential solutions that are existent, are to address these issues by becoming more open and transparent, with knowing that fair and treated promotions, hiring, family environment, organizational cultures, opportunities for childcare, challenging the gender stereotype biases can be those methods to bridge the gender wage gap. And also, there are still progressive factors that still have to exist. First and foremost, we do have the cultural variances, such as Eastern varied cultures are more focused on women to be more of the nurturer and not to be the enabler or be the one who leads. They feel as though men may need to be the leader in that aspect, and women may need to be dependent on the men. Also, I do feel as though that in the Western culture, there is acknowledgement of separation of the balance. So it is an existent where, hey, there is a balance where women can be very successful as much as men. I've noticed in the informational technology field, there has been a spark of women who are engaging in the technology field as much as men. As well as making sure that we are aware of the potential challenges that may come. There may be new job fields, new markets, new policies, new organizations that are structured to dedicate towards a specific gender. And also, every organization is not required for inclusivity as well as diversity. So those organizations do exist, so we have to make sure that we are aware of that as well. Also, organization policies and their culture may be different from gender and wage gap bridges. So that intersectionality may not be implemented. Also, just creating a framework where it's possible to be at least respectful and admirable to the gender wage gap is a sufficient manner to help these individuals understand the existence of those powers. So first and foremost, I would like to thank you again for listening here to this informative ideology of gender wage gap, and you have a great evening.